G-Man Boxing. Do you know what I mean? Every single live he donates. I see him on other lives donating. He's got the bag on it.
Alright people, Billam Smith defeats Isaac Chamberlain, 12 round UD, hell of a fight. Really enjoyed this fight from start to finish. It had everything bar a knockdown, and we almost saw that at the back end of the 12th round, which I'll talk about now in a second. I thought this fight would be, when I heard about this fight first, I was thinking this isn't a bad scrap. Not a bad scrap, and it was in Bournemouth, so immediately I was like, oh, for Chamberlain it really is kind of almost go for broke from the start, because I was thinking he's not going to get a decision. Now, didn't matter. Billam Smith won this fight. There's no disputing that. He won this fight, definitely. You know, I thought Chamberlain could win. I think I didn't do a prediction, but I picked him to win. But no, Billam Smith won this fight pretty clearly. But the atmosphere in Bournemouth, that was crazy. It looked like a really good arena to be in. And, you know, that kind of part of the UK, south of the UK, is really kind of, you don't really associate it with boxing and shows going on down there. But the atmosphere in Bournemouth for this arena, I mean, there would have only been about 3,000 or 4,000, but it looked really good. Let's talk about this fight. So, both guys came out from early on, and there was no feeling out in this fight. There wasn't. I thought Chamberlain would try and establish his jab early on and keep it at range. And obviously what Billam Smith did is he looked at the Okoli fight and he saw what Okoli did. Obviously the Okoli fight with Chamberlain was a couple of years ago, and it was a terrible fight. It was horrible. But pretty much Chamberlain was shut down by Okoli just ragdolling him, pushed him across the ring. Now, obviously as well, Okoli had a longer reach, everything. What Billam Smith did was he implemented some similar tactics. He would, as often as he could, he would get close to Isaac Chamberlain. He'd try and back Chamberlain up against the ropes. And he was throwing some very hard, very good shots to Isaac Chamberlain's body. He was also able to close Chamberlain's left eye pretty badly. It was swelling up quite badly. It was I think it was bleeding at one point as well. So he was able to find Chamberlain with them shots. He was able to back Chamberlain up against the ropes. Now Chamberlain, I think Chamberlain has better power than we give him credit for, because he buzzed Billam Smith a few times in this fight. But when he was getting backed up against the ropes, the authority on his shots, because he was returning fire. It wasn't like he was getting backed up against the ropes and Billam Smith was just unloading on Chamberlain. He had nothing come back. No, Chamberlain was actually finding Billam Smith with quite a few shots early on. He was using his free hand to good effect when he was backed up against the ropes. He was landing some uppercuts. He was landing a few left hooks when he was, up close to Billam Smith. And actually, when it was a battle of the jabs, Chamberlain, although his jab's not amazing, I think it could be better. It's not a bad jab, and he was able to have a good bit of success using his jab when they were in the centre or the middle of the ring. But again, what Billam Smith would do is he would just back Chamberlain up, constantly would back him up, and I don't think Chamberlain was ever badly hurt in this fight. I think that the sounds of the crowd made it appear that way, but I don't think he ever was. I think Billam Smith was more buzzed out of the two in this fight. So that was how the first round went. Second round was it just caught fire. Billam Smith was able to land a couple of hooks on Chamberlain, was able to back up against the ropes, and the crowd really came up on their feet. Made you believe that Chamberlain was a bit hurt worse than he was, but he then was able to land the left hook on Billam Smith, which did appear to hurt Billam Smith. Billam Smith did definitely appear to back up against the ropes. I don't want to say his legs looked, badly shaky, but he definitely felt it. So the second round, both guys had their success. It was really a kind of who do you want to give it to. Probably the sheer volume of Billam Smith gave him the nod in that round. But the first half of this fight was really a case of the cleaner shots coming in from Chamberlain, the more eye-catching shots from Chamberlain, but Billam Smith with the volume, with the work rate, and with just the sheer brute force, being able to back Chamberlain up. And again, it's not really a good look. Even if you're on the ropes landing shots, the fact that, Billam Smith is just backing him up to the rope so easy, and he's unloading. For a judge probably looking at that, it just doesn't look good. And it just didn't look good. Now, Billam Smith, I want to say after about rounds 6, probably the midway point of this fight, for me it was noticeable that he was slowing down, that he set a pace that he just couldn't keep with, he just couldn't stick with, and Chamberlain should really have jumped on that. Now, saying that, Chamberlain probably could have been fatigued himself. He was shifting a bit of punishment in there, he was putting an awful lot into his shots as well, but Billam Smith looked more tired to me in the mid rounds. Interestingly, they were the rounds, funny enough, in which Billam Smith really started to pull away. You know, he was slowing the pace down, which I think he was doing to try and get a second win for an attack at the end. But at the same time, Chamberlain was just meeting him with the pace. So Chamberlain was, in the earlier rounds, was setting a good pace, was matching Billam Smith with the pace. So when Billam Smith brought the pace of the fight down, Chamberlain followed suit. He didn't try and make Billam Smith work more than he needed to. He didn't try and look at the fact that he had a guy in there who was pretty badly fatigued in the mid rounds and was thinking, okay, I can go to the body, go to the head, you know. Chamberlain was having a lot of success with his uppercut from early on. It was certainly in the early rounds, in the fact he was getting it right through the guard. Sometimes he was doubling up on the uppercut as well, and he was able to get it through Billam Smith's guard. But once Smith turned the volume of the fight down in terms of the pace, then Chamberlain really, as I said, he just kind of went almost into autopilot and just followed Billam Smith. You know, we didn't see as many uppercuts going. We didn't see as much work from Chamberlain. And saying that, I'm sure he was fatigued too. Maybe he just did a better job hiding it. But with Billam Smith, it looked apparent. But then in the champions rounds, you know, the rounds 10, 11, 12, Billam Smith really, he put it all together. And the 11th round was a real tough round for Chamberlain. A round that started with his trainer saying, look, you are behind. Which I like that when trainers do that, because there's no use pussyfooting around. There's no use telling the fighter, yeah, you're clearly winning this fight when they're not. No, at that point, his trainer, Chamberlain's trainer, knew, look, you're behind in this fight, which he was. You gotta have to go for broke and knock this guy out. You know, you probably won't win a points decision, but you can still drop him. You know, you could still try and get a stoppage. But the 11th round, Smith really put his shots together well in that round, and it seemed by the end of that round, Chamberlain was wilting. It really did, and I actually thought maybe going into the 12th round, he might be able to force a stoppage. Both guys went for the 12th round, and Chamberlain, you couldn't make this up. The last 10-15 seconds, he did buzz Chris Billam Smith. He buzzed him, I don't want to say terribly, but even at the end of the fight, Billam Smith didn't look steady when he was walking around the ring. And Billam Smith kind of sagged up against the ropes, a bit like how Joshua did against Issac in their fight. But Chamberlain ran out of time. I think if that round had been another 10-15 seconds, I don't think he would have stopped Billam Smith, but he would have certainly scored a knockdown, in my opinion. You know, if the round had another 10-15 seconds in it, would have scored a knockdown. I enjoyed this fight throughout. It was one of them fights where, even though we didn't see a knockdown, you just enjoyed it throughout. There wasn't a moment where you were looking away from this fight, if you know what I mean. It was just easy on the eye, easy view, and the styles gelled together quite well. And yeah, Chris Billam Smith retains his titles, his Commonwealth European. Chamberlain, I think that Chamberlain, there's two issues with Chamberlain. One is his lack of physical strength, and I think as well as that, I don't want to say he lacks the killer instinct per se, but when he saw an opponent in front of him who was probably, it looked for me more fatigued, he just kind of went into autopilot and just matched that pace, if you get me. So that was a bit annoying, because I think that was the point where Billam Smith pulled ahead, but they were rounds where I think Chamberlain had the potential to pull ahead. So that was a bit annoying. The physical strength is an issue, but I don't think there's anything he can really do about that. I mean, he just looking at Chamberlain, he looks too big for light heavy. That would absolutely kill him. Kill him going down to light heavy. So I really don't know. I mean, the physical strength thing, there are ways you can improve it. And what I've seen in the past from people who have improved physical strength in the ring, or who have had very good strength in the ring, physical strength, they don't tend to spend a serious amount of time in the weight room. They tend to do more functional training. Like if you look at someone and I know this is you might say this is a bit of a silly comparison. This guy's a heavyweight and Chamberlain's a cruiserweight. But if you look at George Foreman, by today's standards, he would not be a big heavyweight. He'd be a decent-ish size heavyweight in his prime. He was 6'4", 225 pounds. But his physical strength was tremendous. I mean, very few heavyweights in the history of boxing have had the strength George Foreman did. In his prime, in his early days, he never touched a weight. Right? He would chop trees, lift the logs. There's a very, I can't find the picture now, but there's an old paper cutting of George Foreman when he was 21 years old. He was trained by Dick Sadler at the time. And Dick Sadler is basically going through, almost like strength and conditioning coach now, telling George Foreman what he's to do, whilst Foreman is pushing a wheelbarrow full of dirt, a big wheelbarrow as well. So all that to just get used to basically lifting a force, but not like a weight, not doing reps, just actual functional training. I think that's one of the reasons why Foreman had such tremendous physical strength. Maybe Chamberlain should look at that, going down that road in terms of improving it, because you can improve it, if you do stuff like that. I don't think you can improve it in a weight room. I mean, it's all well and good looking like you're physically strong, but actually having that physical strength, So maybe that's something Chamberlain can look at. In terms of what both guys do next, another one of Chamberlain's flaws. I think that being with Mick Hennessy, no disrespect to the guy, has stalled Chamberlain's career. I think if Chamberlain had stayed with Matchroom, or he'd gone with someone like Fish Eyes or someone like that, he could have had better step-ups instead of fighting B-level, C-level opponents and then going into European level. I think he needs that little bridge. So that might have been another issue. As for Billam Smith, I'd say Sky would look to do him in Reactpor. They had the promoter of the Australian. I find his name very I forgot his name, very hard to pronounce. Obatemi or something like that. So potentially he could be in there for a world title. Who knows? But yeah, look, I enjoyed this fight. I really did. Credit to both guys. And yeah, that's my thoughts on this. Let me know yours in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed the video. Smash the like button if you could. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. We got plenty of stuff planned for tomorrow, so I'll see you then. Peace.